Welcome to Truth or Talk. I'm Verstine. I have with me today Alvin. I did a video a few days ago that caused quite an outrage. And Alvin was one of the people on the comments that wanted to actually confront me and talk to me about what I said. And I really appreciated his comment because it was really civil. I got some not so civil comments, which was to be expected. But, anyway, so he said he wants to talk to me. He had a lot of disagreements about the video, so I decided to invite him on the show. So could you tell the people that are watching a little bit about yourself?
Hi, so my name is Alvin. I'm actually French. So for a lot of people, which have to be thought that I should probably not get involved about any American issues. I've lived in the US for 7 years before I moved to Canada. And I'm pretty sure people have questions about why I'm even concerned about any of this. And I'm here to explain. So I saw the video last time and I agreed with some stuff and I disagreed with some also. And,
okay. You agree with some stuff. I thought you were going to come over and like yell at me. All right. So do you want whatever you want? Start where you disagree. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Finish your response.
No, it's okay. And basically, I feel like conversations should always think things are not always the way that we might perceive them, which is important to remain civil and try to have a conversation without trying to judge. And I didn't feel like on the video you coming off, as being ill intent or anything like that. In the contrary, which made me feel like we could have a conversation and that we could both learn from each other.
Okay, so I have a question. Are you in France right now?
No, I live in Montreal right now. I'm originally from France, but right now I live in Montreal.
Okay, so you speak French?
Yes, French is actually my first language.
Okay. So what did I say that you disagreed with?
So I think we should start by what I agree with. Maybe what I disagree with.
Okay, whatever. Where you want to start? Okay.
So what I agreed with, you had a couple of points, mainly one that I strongly agree with, which says that you shouldn't just be any type of stereotype that you expect it to be, that everybody should have their own personality, which I totally agree with. Nobody should be perceived as acting, this way or that way, just because they're Black or whatever. So I totally agree with that. I do agree with your comment on Hillary Clinton hating Black people, because I've known a lot of what she's done in Haiti, and I do agree with the fact that Hillary Clinton is definitely not a good person, and that Black people should not support her. Whether it's better to vote for Donald Trump is another question entirely, which I don't think we should get into. But I do agree that none of this election that you guys had was a good choice at all.
Yeah.
Other than that, you said something about the fact that Black people in general should stop, just expecting things from society because of what happened a long time ago. And I partially agree with that, on the sense that I don't feel like people should just wait to get stuff. It shouldn't stop you from making an effort to succeed in life or in anything that you're doing. Any type of constraint that you have, on yourself shouldn't stop you from trying to be the best thing you can be. But with that being said, we cannot just say that there is no constraint. Basically, I can't say that Black people are, at the stage in society where they can say that, life is fair or life is equal to them. And I have a lot of points to explain this particular point. But on that particular note, that's something I did agree with a little bit, but not totally. You had something that you said also about slavery being over a long time ago, and that people were still kind of complaining about it. And you also said something in the lines of everybody used to have slavery. Slavery didn't come from the U.S. People back then were putting people through slavery throughout history, and this is true. But I feel like this is a little bit simplifying something that's way more complicated. Because it is true that right now we're not in chains. Right now, there isn't a sense of slavery the way that slavery was back then. But there is still effects from that period that still determine the status of Black people today in today's society. And it's not even only in the US, it's really all around the world. So I felt like this was a bit of a oversimplification, and that seeing as people are still affected by it today, it was kind of dismissing a lot of the struggle that a lot of people have today, by just simplifying it as saying slavery is just over. That was one of the points where I didn't really agree with. There was some of the stuff, but I think we can get to it throughout the conversation, I guess.
Okay, that's it. I was listening so I can elaborate on what I was trying to say. Okay, so when I was talking about slavery is over, of course, I was saying we're not physically bound. We're not, and and I hope I'm not coming off as being condescending, when I'm trying to go and explain what I'm trying to say. So I'm saying what I was trying to say, we're not physically bound. So back when Black people were physically bound, we couldn't, we were very dependent on people to give us food and clothing. We couldn't read or we couldn't write. Or I guess maybe some people, Black people, learned under the table, but that wasn't, we weren't really self-sufficient. We were dependent on the masters to give us things. But now we're in a position where we don't have to be dependent if we don't want to, right? We could do things for ourselves. We could, we can read, we can write, we can educate ourselves. So, and my thing is too about asking for something. Once you ask people for something, they can control you, right? It's like you give people a bunch of money, or you give Black people, say you give we got reparations or something. Well, okay, that's another topic, but say, what am I trying to say? I'm looking, okay, let's go back. I mentioned Black Lives Matter. So I look at something like a list of demands from Black Lives Matter to give Black people there's this lady that did something where she was talking about giving Black people, that white people need to give Black people land or just give up their houses to reverse the discrimination that's been going on throughout the years, and to make things right, to level the playing field. So when I look at some of these people that are representing Black Lives Matter, I see that they're trying to reverse the discrimination or flip it in order to make things right. But I don't think that's gonna do anything. So my thing too is about the victim mentality. My biggest thing is that I agree that there is a system that's been put in place to keep Black people down, but we're at a point in history where we can supersede that and overcome that. So the fact that we have this victim mentality is a form of mental slavery, because it's making us believe that we can't beat the system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand that. And I do agree partially, but I don't feel like this is something that we should give up on at all. I feel like Black people are actually owed something, and that if there isn't people out there who are asking for it, then it will just never come.
So what?
But
Oh, go on.
yeah, but I do feel like Black people are owed something. Any people that have been, in today's society, victim of anything, were owed something and were given something. But Black people were the only ones who were kind of, put in the streets and just told, well, figure it out. You're free now, just figure it out. And they were kept back from a lot of things, when it comes to education, when it comes to society as a whole, and then we're just put in the street to kind of figure it out on their own. And until now, when mainly in America, where people have been put in ghettos, in areas where school isn't at a level that it should be, or even that doesn't promote any type of activity that would want to make any a lot of Black children in America want to pursue anything other than a life in something criminal. And this, if reparation doesn't come, I don't think reparation should come at all in a sense of money, but at least in a sense of better education. There are a lot of companies that have made billions, off of the back of slavery. They started during slavery, and they established themselves during slavery, and they are whatever they are right now because that's how it started. And to say to those companies that you're just never going to be accountable for this is letting them off the hook. And I don't think that even if we shouldn't define our lives as being victim, we still were victim, and there was nothing done about it. One of the company that announced recently, I think it was Jack Daniels, that announced recently that the original whiskey was actually made by a slave, and they announced this. And I guess it was a positive effect on them because, in the times that we live in today, being pro-Black is, attracting a lot of good attention. And but still, I don't think they've made any type of contribution based on that fact. And there is a lot of companies, there is a lot of schools that were actually built off the backs of slaves. But those schools don't have any type of scholarship programs towards Black people. They don't have any retribution that was made at all to at least help, the cause. And I feel like this is something America hasn't addressed, and that they should, because at the end of the day, if somebody gets raped, you can't just tell them stop being a victim. It's been 20 years, it's been 40 years. You can't just be a victim all your life. Because that person was a victim,
Okay, so I want to stop you for a second. As far as the analogy of being raped, you can say if they're raped when they're young and they're still dragging themselves down in a victim mentality for 20 years, you can say stop being a victim. But this is my point. You have to empower that person, because in my mind, if they're not able to overcome that, they're creating their own prison. That's just they're gonna stay in that mentality. It's gonna be detrimental to themselves. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't say, oh, what happened to you was terrible, or oh, the person that did this to you is not to blame, because they are. But if you're holding on to something that's dragging you down and you're expecting the other person to give you something or empower you, that's never going to happen. So what's going to have to happen is that you're going to have to find a way to take that power back yourself and empower yourself. So where you're talking about, like, how with slavery, Black people were just told to figure it out. We actually, you're right, that did happen. But at the same time, we were figuring it out, up until like the 1960s. You know, the majority of Black fathers were in the household. We were thriving. There have been, I know I visited one. It's one outside of Bakersfield. It's called Allensworth. There was a Black town, post-slavery era, where Black people actually, like, they built their own town. They had schools. They had all this stuff. Now, huh?
I've read a little about that. Yeah.
Yeah, actually went. It's like nobody lives there, but you can go. Oh, I was a kid, so I don't know if it's still there, but you can go and you can visit. And then there's, like, you know, the whole Black Wall Street situation in Oklahoma. You know, there were inventors that invented things, like Garrett A. Morgan invented the traffic light. You have people that contributed to gas masks, and you have George Washington Carver. So, like, looking back in schools, I'm a teacher. I teach at the school in China. I worked for LAUSD for about 8 years, and I actually wanted to. I actually grew up in South Central, and when I was a long-term sub, so I was subbing, but I had a few relationships with schools, and I stayed down there. I worked. My cousin was a teacher in South Central, so we worked at the same school. And I noticed that, you know, in the curriculum too, they don't really teach Black people things that have been empowering to them, right? Like, so any of this stuff that I found out about inventors and Allensworth, and my cousin who's Black, who was a huge influence in my life, she would actually make an effort to show me things about Black people that were empowering, because she knew in the curriculum we weren't getting this. So it's like, from a teacher's point of view and from a student's point of view, like I said, a lot of Black people I think there's different levels to this conspiracy. So I think there's a conspiracy to basically, you know, teach Black people that they were slaves and pretty much nothing else. Maybe we might get Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, but, you know, we're not told of the contributions that we have made to society and the things that we have built as a people by ourselves without any help. And then you have this other aspect too, where when you get taught about slavery, they make it sound like every single white person was a slave. And they don't talk about the fact that it was a small percentage of white people who owned slaves, that the other poor white people. They don't tell you that Black people actually sold Black people, rich Black people in Africa sold Black people into slavery. So you have this whole, it's to me, it's kind of like the setting up this, like, divide and conquer, right? So there is a conspiracy. I wouldn't say it's just like white people. I think that there is a higher level of conspiracy where they're elites. And I'm not saying, like, if you're a millionaire or even a billionaire that you're necessarily part of the elite, but you have to kind of do your own digging and figure out who, you know, all the way at the top, follow the money all the way at the top, and figure out who runs the educational system, who writes the curriculum, and who's benefiting from making Black people, you know, and white people fight against each other, lower classes, because there are a lot of poor white people in this country too. You know, there are more white people on welfare than Black people. So I agree with I think there's this conspiracy to keep Black people. And then as a teacher too, I noticed, and I didn't notice this until I was a teacher and I saw how the kids soak this up. But there's a conspiracy to get Black people, Black children, into gangster rap and make them think that that is their destiny, right? So, I mean, on one hand, if you're teaching them that they're slaves and stuff, and then showing them, oh, well, the only way you can get out of this poverty situation is to become a rapper or to become a basketball player, you know, even on a subliminal level, these kids are picking it up. Now, I had this one kid who's smart, right? Smartest kid in the class. And we were talking about one day, what are you going to do when you grow up? What do you want to be, right? And he was like, I want to be a pimp. And I was like, a pimp? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, why? And he was like, oh, well, because you get really pretty girls and you get a car with the swimming pool. He was all like 9 or 10, but he was like, you get a car with the swimming pool and you get a lot of money. And in his head, he's like, well, why would I work hard when, you know, and to be a doctor or a teacher or something, outside of this, where it's like, I could just be a pimp. He didn't even really know what a pimp is. And then I was like, well, do you know you can go to jail for that? He's like, jail? I was like, yeah, you know, but he had no idea. He's just like, duh, I'm going to be a pimp because I want hot girls and I want a car with a swimming pool and lots of money. Hello. That's like, you know, in his mind, you know what I'm saying? that's kind of when I started thinking about it and just being like, these kids are soaking this stuff up like a sponge, you know. And I posted something on the wall. There's this really good article by this guy named Homeboy Sandman talking about how there has been a conspiracy because, you know, when hip hop started to come up, it was very conscious and it was getting Black people to think about certain issues and kind of get out of that mentality. So then there was something that had to come in to like debase, you know, debase the mentality, right? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you want to comment?
Yeah, the thing is, what you just said, you know, about, you know, the fact that a lot of this stuff is not taught to Black people in general. That's part of what is owed to Black people after slavery. Making education about learning, you know, about their origins, their struggles, their fights, and their accomplishments is something that is owed to Black people. And the fact that they haven't had that is, to me, one of the big factors that's keeping them down today. And, you know, by saying that you're not owed anything, this is something that, you know, they are owed and that were never given to them. And today, we live in a society that, you know, we have internet, so we can make our own research. But then if you're not driven by that kind of, you know, passion to learn, or to understand where you come from, or even to doubt what you've been taught in school, will go there. And this is a part of you know, this entire system that's, to me, defective. And this is to me a part that's playing a lot in the racism that's in America, and not only in America, in a lot of other places, because not only Black people don't know about their own history, their own contribution to society, but white people don't know either.
Yeah.
And then have
and it's not even a black and white thing. It's you know, because this country has multi races.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that Black history, I would agree, Black history shouldn't be Black history. It's history, right?
No, like I've never understood this. I've found that very offensive, actually, the fact that people have an entire Black History Month as if, you know, Black history wasn't part of American history. That's kind of, you know, I'd never understood that at all.
So I would say that we are owed that, but I'll say this: nobody's going to give it to us. We're just going to have to take it. You see what I'm saying? It's, you can just be like, give us this, give it to us. You owe us this, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's something that we're going to have to take ourselves. That's what I'm just saying. To me, if you're saying, gimme, you owe this to me, that's being the victim when we have the power to take it ourselves. Like you said, we have the internet. You know, I'm still learning about stuff that I've had to go out and look for myself. Like nobody gave it to. I took classes, I read stuff, but I did it myself. But like I think there are powers that be that don't have the people that owe us stuff. Now, and I'm not talking about just white people. I'm talking about like the elites, like shooting above just the plain old average white person. They have a vested interest in keeping us disempowered. And no matter how much we scream and yell and demand that they give us something, they're not going to. They're not going to. But we're at a place where we can take it back ourselves.
I think that it's not that easy, taking it back ourselves. And I think it's based on the fact that when we have succeeded, you know, when we're doing great, we have a tendency to assume that everybody could do the same thing, which is not necessarily true.
Why is that not true?
I'm a person, I've been very fortunate. I've been very fortunate to travel to many places, to live in many different countries, see different culture, which is giving me kind of a perspective on a lot of things that I would never have if I didn't have that opportunity. Mm-hmm. I've been able to attend good schools, and I know that most people that I've grown up with didn't get that chance. So having that power, you know, to build all of this is not something that is that easy to do, because if you know, there is nobody to fight for it at the beginning, if there is nobody to protest for, you know, the rights of Black people, if there is nobody to educate white people in general, because even though white people in general want the cause or aren't even on the issue, and their unwillingness to even, you know, participate in the fact in the fight is part of the problem, and it's part of why we'll never get to the point where you know we should be. And it's true that most white people weren't part of racism. Most white people didn't own slaves.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? I missed, you said most white people are, or you said are proud of racism, and what? Or
no,
what?
not all white people were part of racism, and most white people today don't even think that they're racist.
Yeah.
But not helping, or, you know, being on the defensive and making sure that you are not viewed as a racist is kind of part of the problem. You know, if you're not helping, or if you're not even willing to listen to the struggle of people that have been complaining for a long time, and then your only answer is to make sure that you as a person is not being viewed as a racist, instead of, you know, trying to understand the struggle of people that, you know, that are trying to expose it to you, then you are part of the problem. And without, you know, having ounce of malice, or, you know, they are still, you know, a factor contributing in the fact that racism doesn't get better in the United States. A lot of racists today have come out of just white people wanting to prove that they weren't racist. And then all of a sudden, you know, a lot was flipped on Black people as, you know, constantly complaining, which is giving voice to a lot of racists today to come out of the woods and feel like it was okay to be racist. So, like, this is actually part of what's creating this entire hostile environment that we've seen lately. And if you're not doing anything, if you're not helping, then, you know, you're not a positive effect. And that's where I feel like, even though you're not going to give your land or what you worked for to Black people just because, you know, 150 years ago people used to be slaves, but you owe them at least to participate in the fight, and to make sure that you fight for Black people to have the education that they should have today, to have the right to not be profiled by police on a regular basis, to have, you know, to have at least the same playing field that you're playing on, and at least you owe them that, you know, because even though you weren't part of it, today you are living in the land of the free, where everybody is supposed to live equal, but it's not the case. Black people are going to jail way more than white people, when white people are the main people committing crimes in the United States. This is actually happening. And the fact to me that a lot of people are more focused on making sure that, you know, we don't make this a Black thing, rather than trying to, you know, kind of view that struggle, you know, question, you know, your own country, and try to act in a way that's lead to progress. It's not going anywhere, and it's not helping. And that, to me, is one of the main issues.
Okay, you had a lot of points. I was trying to let you get your thought through. I didn't want to like correct you. I mean, I didn't know correct, or like I didn't want to like stop you. Let me see. So, fighting. Okay, so what do you think? God, I should have taken notes. What do you think about you were saying that, sorry, let me think, let me get my gather shot. Okay, you were saying that like Black people, it's not like white people need to help or do something. What do you think? Because I mean, I talked about the fact that like, I think that it's up to us to take back our power and take back our history. Nobody's gonna give that to us. I also think that, you know, like going back to the conspiracy about what we're taught in school, there literally have been slaves of other races that have overcome. White people have been enslaved, not just indentured servants. You know, Black people have enslaved, the Moors enslaved the Spaniards. There's been for like 700 years. This thing of slavery is not exclusive to just white people,
Yes,
right? Slavery is going on today in Libya. Slavery is good. You know, Black people. Hold on one second. Let me finish. Black people are very. I know this is a stereotype, but it's kind of some truth to this. You know, I don't know how it is in Canada or the world, but I know Black people in America, we have an obsession with sports equipment, right? And the sports equipment are actually made by slaves in China. Now they don't use the word slaves, but you know, they're working in these factories where they're committing suicide, getting paid 3 cents a day, wearing diapers because they're not allowed to go to the bathroom, being treated like crap, you know? So is it okay? I mean, so on the subject of slavery is you know, I'm not like diminishing all of the abuse and the psychopathy that went along with it, but at the end of the day, slavery is something that human beings have invented because they want free labor. They want, you know, a cheap labor so they can produce their products. And they are producing products because they're people that want to buy their products. So are Black people, because there are a large, their GDP is, you know, a lot of the money that Black people put into like sports equipment and like maybe like, you know, hair weaves, that, you know, stuff that, you know, hair weaves too. There's a whole thing about like, you know, hair being sold in the black market because their customers would you say they're perpetuating slavery in other nations, and is that okay?
So
because it's not happening to them.
So I did see that you made that point in the video last time, and about that, this is an argument that I've heard a lot. You know, slavery wasn't just invented, you know, to put Black people to slavery. But
well, it's true.
There is actually a big difference between the capitalistic type of slavery and the slavery that Black people went through. Black people weren't put through slavery because they were, you know, prisoners of war, or, you know, because they were poor people and then they were used for labor. Black people were put in slavery based on religious principles that the Black race is inferior, and that God declared that. And then it was hold
on one second. I want to say I think that was more of a tactic that the white slave masters used to dehumanize Black people, because on any level, when you're enslaving somebody or you're committing a genocide against somebody, you have to dehumanize them in order for it psychologically to be okay to do that. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying like you have to.
People in you know, this capitalist system that are, you know, making shoes for low income and etc. put on a scale where they're taught that they're less than humans. Black people were taught for 400 years that they were not humans, that they were less than humans, and that for them to be more,
so
we're gonna have to become lighter or go into the lighthouse, and you can see the result of this type of you know, of mental enslavement.
Oh no!
And believe in used to enslave them, and or the fact that, like you said, Black women today would straighten their hair because even the nature of their own hair isn't even viewed by them as something of beauty. And this is something that was very precise to the slavery that Black people have known, and that's why it's not at all. It's not you know, when Black people were put to slavery, they used to have gods, they used to have their own religions, and all of that was erased. All of that was erased. All of that was brain into 400 years, which is pretty much generations of people, will just basically treated like animals, and then taught that they were the only way they could grow up in society is a white original sin better, so that to God.
So hold on a second.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't really answer my question when I was asking if Black people are, customers of another race being enslaved, but yet they're talking about the effects that slavery had on them. Wouldn't it, because Black people were slaves and are still suffering the effects of slavery today, wouldn't they have compassion and be, not contribute to other people being enslaved as well? I mean, is that okay? How is that not? I mean,
no,
to me, slavery isn't good for anybody. Like, you know what I mean?
The thing with this is that you're talking to a lot of people who just recently started having things. And you can see their mentality is based on that. Black people who didn't used to have money, now they have money. So all they think about is showing people that now they have money. So now they need to buy shoes, they need to buy expensive shoes. But I still attribute this to a mental breakdown of people who didn't have anything for a long, long time, and suddenly they're given things without any type of education, any type of financial education at all in order to manage their money. Most Black people don't even know what wealth is. But most Black people don't even know how to invest. And it's funny because I've met a lot of people when I used to live in.
I get that. I understand that. Does that excuse them? Does that excuse them for having?
Because
I mean, yeah, it does.
It does, so because
who's going to stop this mentality?
It's like not excusing a child because he doesn't understand that what he's doing is wrong. Okay,
so hold on one second. I just want to. So this is the problem that I have is the fact. Let me turn this light on. Let's get a little better light. This is the problem I have. I feel like Black people are being treated like children. So you're excusing, this because it's okay because they haven't had. I get what you're saying. Like they haven't had wealth in a while. Now they're in an opportunity in their life to buy things that they haven't had to show off. But I don't, but now you're saying it's like excusing, it's okay because you're excusing a child. So to me, that's still like being in the victim mentality because you're excusing somebody for something when they're adults and they should be able to break out of that, and it's, we're also, as Black people, we're also contributing, we're giving our money away to a lot of these industries. We don't even have any economic wealth. We spend billions of dollars in the hair industry alone, and we don't even own any part of that. A large part of that's owned by like the Koreans,
But that's one part that's the problem. If you put people to figure things out, like I said before, you put people on the street and you tell them figure it out, and then some of them manage to actually make it, either by the stereotypes, things like sports or music or whatever. But it doesn't make those people more educated on what wealth is. It doesn't make those people more. Being an adult is just a number. It's just an age that you reach, and then it doesn't magically make you either smart or educated or anything. It just makes you older. And if you're not taught those type of traits, then you're going to be a product of your environment. And your environment is a poor state that suddenly gets a lot of stuff, and then all of a sudden, all you want to do is shine, is make other people jealous because you used to have anything before, so you used to be jealous, and now your only goal is to make other people jealous because you want to be in the position that you see other people that you weren't before. But then it is childish, and it's it's very sad.
But yeah, I think a lot of Black people, we're put in this situation where we're like arrested. We have arrested development. I mean, I agree with that. But my thing is, if there are people that have intentions of doing that, you can't yell at those same people and ask them to free you, because they're not going to, because they benefit from doing that. So it's up to us to take it ourselves. Now I want to ask you something. You said that you're fortunate to travel and do all this stuff. I have too. I grew up in South Central. I'm poor. Well, not really poor now, but I grew up poor. Did you grow up poor?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Well, maybe not poor, but I was definitely not, wealthy at all. My mom
Like my mom was on Section 8, and like,
yeah, my parents used to be poor. When I was at least until 10, 11, I used to live in the project. But then my mom, worked really hard. She got, higher and higher posts, every time. And then we got out of it. We were never rich either, but, we were living okay when I was more of a teenager. And so this is part of why I feel like I had more opportunity than a lot of people.
So I have a question. What do you think? What do you think separates you from the people that still have this mentality where they have to shine and they need help to kind of get out of this mentality, as opposed to you?
Opportunity.
So then does it just boil down to luck?
So a lot of it in the system where we are right now, a lot of it is a little bit luck. When you look at one of the things also is that in France we have a very different school system. No school in France has the right to kind of be better than another school. Schools are public. Whatever you teach in school, everybody has to have the same education, which is kind of.
You don't have private schools? You don't have private schools?
But even private schools are regulated to the point where everybody has to be taught the same way. So hold on
one second. They have to be taught the same thing, or the same?
They have to be taught the same thing. And at the end of
curriculum? High school, I'm sorry. I just want to get clarification. Like the same curriculum?
Yes. And at the end of high school, the entire country has to pass the same exam to say that they validated high school.
To me, that's terrible. I mean, I don't know, but
the problem, the thing with this is that people have to be on the same level of education, and then there can't be a disparity. So it is really a system that gives a chance to everyone, no matter the race, no matter your background. So at the end of the day, schools are on the equal playing field. Now, I'm not talking about universities. Universities can be private, you have private schools and stuff like that. But when it comes to all the way through finishing a high school, your curriculum has to be the same. I used to be in public school with a lot of, with children, with rich children, and I was in public school. And school is going to be free for everyone. And then everyone has to attend school until they're 18. And that's one part that France has done, even though France has their own, racism problems that are really different from the US.
Yeah.
This is something that they have to give people. And this is one of the things that I will never understand about America. Children should not have the
oh no. Let me see. Hello?
Able to the US, and it's allowed me to discover another struggle of people. I'm living it's 4 years now, and then I had the opportunity that a lot my friends.
You're freezing. Could you hold up? Yeah, hold on. I want to hear what you're saying, but you're freezing. All right.
I'm sorry.
Try it again. Don't kill me. Could you just back it up to said you were talking about like how France and America are on the same playing field, and that, or I mean, it's France and all the schools are on the same playing field, and that's something that you will never understand about America.
Yeah, and what I was saying about that is that I had this opportunity, which is, you know, the opportunity to have the same education and a really good education. I had also the opportunity to travel and view different things, different people, different struggles, which kind of made me aware of a lot of things that I wasn't aware of. And I used to be one of those people who wanted shiny things. I used to play basketball. I actually came to the US playing basketball. And then, you know, a lot has changed because I was able to evolve, because I had opportunity that were given to me that a lot of people didn't have. And those opportunities are, to me, what's lacking in the US for Black children in general. Those opportunities to kind of, you know, become something else, those chances. And a lot of it, to me, was luck. I was lucky to have parents who were able to give me what they gave me. I was lucky to be one of the few to be able to travel as much, to be able to learn another language, to appreciate another culture, and to live all the stuff that are making me the person that I am today. But I'm never going to assume and put, you know, every Black person at the same level as me, because I know that we didn't have the same opportunities in life.
I mean, I get what you're saying to a degree, but I believe that you make your own luck, because I know people too that maybe they didn't have that had it worse than me, and they figured a way out because they had the drive and are actually even more successful than I am right now. They have more money, have, you know, came from the same circumstances or worse.
But
I just think that
I've seen people who struggled a lot, but then, and they were fighters, and then they didn't amount to anything. I have some examples.
Well, why did they not amount to anything?
Because they weren't lucky. Some people are
lucky. Well, I mean, like,
some people are not, and you know, I'm considering myself.
I feel like we have to get rid of this thing about luck. I think luck is when, what do they say? Opportunity meets preparation.
But statistically, luck is a factor, because statistically, not everybody ends up like us. We are a very small percentage of people, considering our backgrounds, considering where we came from. We're not statistically, you know, normal people. We're people who got out of it. But most people who were raised in the conditions, in poor conditions, etc., they finished some other way. And this is in part due to the fact that we're once we succeed, we're not turning back to help those people. We're telling them, well, you should do like us. But maybe they're not as intelligent as we are. Maybe they didn't have all the opportunities that we had. We can't just consider that everybody is on the same level.
So this is my thing. Oh, this is the problem, and I want to be clear. Like, I'm really nonpartisan right now. I didn't vote for Hillary or Donald Trump. I don't hate Donald Trump though, at all. But I mean, that, like I said, that's another conversation for another video. I think that though, kind of stepping back, I was a Democrat for a while, and I voted for Obama the first term. But stepping back and kind of really dissecting the ideologies of the political parties, I feel like the left, the Democratic Party, I won't just say the left, but I'll just say like the Democratic Party really thrives on the fact that Black people, they kind of have this, to me, it's a very condescending, I don't think that you're being this way intentionally or whatever, but I feel like there's this condescending attitude, like, oh, you poor little Black people, you can't do anything for yourselves and we need to help you. And, this is why, we have the welfare state that was implemented, and then you have, affirmative action. And to me, it just made Black people regress. Like my dad, when I was really, I would say I was a liberal and stuff. My dad would say, and my dad's Black, by the way, he would say that he hated affirmative action. And he told me this a long time ago, and I thought he was crazy, but he was just like, and I was like, why? And I was like, well, because you're admitting that they're smarter than you. You're admitting that they are better than you, that if you don't have the same, so, the thing is, yes, start, just give us the same opportunities, and then, we can thrive. But it's like kind of this whole thing about like, oh, you need help. Now, I think that the Black community does need help in the sense that there's certain, the education system is messed up. It does need to be reformed. The whole Black on Black crime thing is atrocious, and that needs cleaning up. Because even if you are smart and you want to thrive, how can you thrive in an environment where you're trying, people are getting shot and killed all the time? So I agree in that sense, like that needs to be addressed. But say we clean all that up.
The thing about
I feel like we have the mental capacity to be able to supersede that and beat the system.
The thing about Black on Black crime is that Black on Black crime isn't just one thing. 80% of white people that are killed by other white people, and it's not. Oh,
I know that, but I'm like, I just want to focus more on. Because we're talking about Black people and stuff, I want to focus.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to say, I want to say that one thing. When you bring that up, you say, oh, 80% of white people. I feel like it becomes this game of who, like we're trying to look better, right? Because I'm like, okay, I'm focusing on, because to me, when, going on the subject of Black people dying and being killed, say like, I know my numbers are skewed. I'm saying maybe like 10 Black people are being killed by police, which is bad. And but then we have like 1,000 Black people being killed by other Black people. So what is more important, the amount of Black people that are dying, or the fact who's killing the Black people? So I feel like it becomes this game of like, oh, well, you don't want to take, you don't want Black people to look bad or to look violent because they're killing, you don't want it to be known. I'm not saying you, but I'm saying you don't want it to be known that Black people are killing other Black people because it makes us look bad. It makes us look violent. But in the same time, it's like, I don't think that's the main issue to me, because if you're talking about love and respect, if you want racism to kind of, end or whatever too, if people don't see you respecting yourselves, then other races aren't going to respect us either. One, and then two, there's just more Black people being killed, so our numbers are being, are dwindling in that sense. And there's a lot of Black babies being aborted. And I'm sorry. Okay, what are you saying? I can't hear you.
It's not really a comparison that you can make. Black people being killed by Black people, in ghettos and etc. This is violence due to poverty, due to, it's a result of their environment. But when the police kills innocent people, this is an entirely different issue. You can't compare thugs.
It's a different issue to agree, because, by that token, you can say that more white people are killed by police than, right?
No, but I've made...
White people are killed by police than Black people, if you want to get into statistics, if you're talking
I've made research
brutality.
And I've made research about this. And the truth about, police brutality is that Black people are 3 times more likely to get shot by a police officer than white people. And this is statistics that I was able to find just by doing a research on the internet. This
So
is
I'm curious, when the research, was it black people that were in a gang environment? They were gang, were they like businessmen, or were they like entrepreneurs and policemen came and just like shot them? Like what, like, you know what I mean?
I'm talking about while being arrested for what type of arrest. Black people are just 3 times more likely to get shot by police officers.
So I'm curious. I'm just curious. Was it in an environment? Because also too, like, I'm looking at the police, right? Especially if you're going into an area where it's a war zone, where black people are killing each other all over the place. If you're a policeman, a paramedic, you're just basically running into bullets. You're in a situation where, you know, a lot of policemen are stressed. You know, they have PTSD. A lot of those policemen are not trained correctly. They're not trained properly. I'm just saying, okay, we're about to disagree. Right? But if you're going into a very stressful environment as a police officer, where there's a majority of black people, is it more likely that black people are going to more likely die in that situation? I'm just asking you according to your research. Or yes. was it like a black person that was like, you know, not in that situation? Were there black people that weren't in that situation, weren't in a gang-ridden environment that were shot by police?
So when I looked at the statistics, and this is something that I got directly from the FBI's website, they made statistics on, you know, the number of arrests. White people in America are 70% of the arrests that are made by the police in general. When it comes to murder, it's about 50-50. I think black people are a little bit more than white people, but it's about 50-50. When it comes to drugs, white people are as likely to commit the same crimes as black people. So at the end of the day, you know, we make it seem a lot like, you know, the police has more trouble when it comes to black neighborhoods, but that's just because that's where they focus their attention. I mean,
well, because they get more calls there because there's more violence there. I mean, why would they go into other neighborhoods where there's not enough crime?
I attribute
like if they're not going to go to a neighborhood where there's not a lot of crime, they're going to go to where they're called, because that's why you call the police, because
if that was true, then how come 70% of those police arrests are white people? Because at the end of the day, the police does make more arrests of white people, but then somehow black people end up more.
Is it because there's more white people in the country?
What was that?
Is it because there's more white people in the country?
Yeah, but even though there's more black people,
I think that's why they arrest more white people, because there's more like white. You know what I mean? I know I'm coming off as a smart ass, but I'm like, that's what I'm saying.
Those are crimes, and even though there is more white people, then it still ends up being black people get more killed or more arrested or more, sentenced to longer period, and this is for the same offenses.
I would agree with that. I know that there's a disparity. I would agree with that about being longer sentences and yes.
You know, for example, that black people were.
My thing is, my question is, in your research, I'm just curious to know, the black people that are being killed, like 70% more, are those people, are they gangbangers? Are they businessmen? Are they what? Because at the end of the day, if you're a policeman going into an environment where there's a lot of gang members, like I was saying before, like, you know, there's more black people killing black people. So if you're in a neighborhood where there's a lot of black people killing each other and you call the cops and they come in and they're shooting back, like, would it be more likely that more black people are dying that way too as well in those neighborhoods? Or is it like black people in rich neighborhoods that aren't, or in more well-to-do neighborhoods that aren't gangbangers?
That's part of, you know, the product of the environment. At the end of the day, you know, they are.
I'm asking, were you able to distinguish that? I'm curious. I'm curious, because in my mind, that's what I'm thinking.
For this particular, it's a general thing. For this particular statistic, it's a general thing. But
so they weren't able to determine like what the situation is. It's on a case by case scenario. Is that what you're saying?
thing. Being a black person guarantees you that you have three times more chance of being killed. I do think that this is in big part because of the big war on drug that was manufactured by Nixon and all of
And the
this.
Clintons.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I said and the Clintons. Go on.
Yeah, and the Clintons, this entire thing that was kind of manufactured to kind of keep black people in ghettos and keep those neighborhoods as bad neighborhoods. But when you look at it, most black people that are in jail today are not in jail because they were killing people. They're in jail for minor nonviolent things.
So in that thing, I would say that's where you can say slavery is still existing, right? When you're caught up in the system, you go this whole prison industrial complex. You get in, and then when you get out, like I've had friends that have gone to jail and stuff, and they can't even get an apartment because they have a felony conviction, or it's hard for them to get a job. So they're kind of stuck in that system. I would agree. Like I would like to see that being reformed.
And even for
even with that, it's something that the people are going to have to take into their own hands to get reformed. Because I just don't think that their people, the higher ups, are just gonna give it to us because they benefit.
Look, when weed is now becoming legal pretty much everywhere. I'm in Canada right now, and Canada is about to legalize marijuana as just a general thing in the entire country. How many black people in the US are in jail because they had a little bit of weed on them? And the worst part is
a lot of people. Actually, I have a friend that I would say I have a friend that was also white that got but on black people. There are a lot of people of lots of races that are, but yes, in jail, yes, okay, yes, a lot.
When you look at
I don't know how many, but a lot, I would say.
13% of consumers of drugs, 13% only are black. Black people represent only 13% of people that are taking drugs. But yet, they represent the most part of people that are convicted of drug charges. They get the longer sentences. And then, we wonder why there is no fathers around, to raise their children. And
I think it's a combination. It's like, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but like when the welfare state came in the 60s, and it basically broke up the black families in America.
Yes.
Okay. Before that, I think it was like 4 out of 5 black homes, something like that, had fathers and mothers to raise their children. Yeah, I mean, there has been conspiracies. There has been like, I'm not like denying that, and I'm not like denying the system that's been put in place. But to me, I feel like the only way out is to come together and do something about, like, take it back ourselves, but not through. Okay, so how about what happened? What would happen, do you think, if we went into the gang-ridden areas and got them to stop killing each other and like united the gangbangers, and
But that's a utopia, because
I'm just saying, what do you think would happen?
But stopping this, okay, but then what? Then
so utopia also is protesting and hoping to that policemen will stop shooting people unjustly too. I mean,
yeah, but that is a start. Or even that they don't stop.
I don't think it's accomplished anything. You know what? I'll say this. I have a thing against rioting because I was in the LA riots. I was in it. I was smack dab in the LA riots when I was a kid. And I remember, I was a kid, but a lot of like my black family members and friends were actually excited about the tape, because they were like, finally, like, we've been trying to tell people about this for years. Somebody got, police brutality on tape. This is going to rock the house. And then they got off and the city went crazy. And, people weren't even protesting. I would just say just straight up rioting. And at the end of the day, it stopped nothing. Nothing.
No, it stopped nothing. But the problem is that nobody is getting convicted. At the end of the day, Uh, what we would at least like to see is that somebody, gives a shit, that somebody gets sentenced to murder when they murder someone. Uh, and that's all that would appease, it would appease so much people to know that at least there was justice, that at least, a cop who had the responsibility to protect people and who assassinated an innocent man, an innocent father, or an innocent child playing in the park with a toy gun, goes to jail because that's what he deserves. But the problem is that you're trying to appease people by not giving them anything, not an ounce of justice, not an ounce of anything. And then, yeah, people get angry and they break stuff and they do a lot of things that they shouldn't be doing.
And they hurt other Black people and they burn, they hurt other Black people and they run. And I said in the video too, that they're leading, like the people that are protesting this stuff, they're leading them to slaughter because then they get them riled up by our emotions, which I know the anger is justified. I'm not saying the anger is justified, but if you're not being constructive with that anger, their higher ups are going to wield that and use that against you to get you to run out. These people are running out into these policemen that, they have all these mega weapons now. They have these like, the sound cannons and, not only do they have guns, they have all this stuff, right? They're going to get hurt. What are they going to like attack them with their posters? You know what I'm saying? Like they're going to get hurt or they're going to do something in front of the policeman. They're going to get a prison record and they're going to, and then they're going to be in that system. Which is hard to get out. Like even like the statue thing, I was looking at this girl who was Black that climbed this ladder, pushed the statue, like all these other people are cheering her on. I'm like, that's so stupid. Somebody's videotaping it. She got arrested. Now she's in jail. She's in the system. I think that's a felony for destroying like a property like that.
I agree with the fact that the techniques or the strategy isn't in place, but it's something that just started. It's something that started out of rage. I don't think the Black Lives Matter movement has any type of real hierarchy or organization. And I do think that's something that it is something that should be worked on, and that they should have a more productive strategy. But then,
hold on a second. You said you don't think it has hierarchy within the black people that are in it, or like, do you know about George Soros?
Yeah.
Do you know about him, or have you heard of him?
I've heard rumors that he was one of the contributors or something like that. I've never seen anything to confirm it, but I've heard a little bit about the rumors going around.
So my thing is, because this is the first time on this page that I've really gone into stuff about race. Like my partner April and I, we have this page. We talk about a lot. Our kind of awakening started with a lot of the corruption in the medical industry. So we delve in conspiracies and stuff. So you can research it. You can find him linked and giving money to Black Lives Matter, to Antifa. Now, he was also a Nazi collaborator. There is an interview of him admitting that he collaborated with Nazis in World War II. He also has been deemed as a war criminal in other countries because he is famous for creating division and divide and conquer in countries to get people to fight against each other and to break up and balkanize countries to make them easier to overthrow. I'm just saying, you get some time, you should look into him. So in my point of view, there's a higher up, right, that is organizing to get Black people to ruin themselves.
No,
through using their rage,
ill intent,
constructively, or I don't say non-constructively, right?
I'm pretty sure there's going to be bad influence from everywhere, and even during the Black Panther years and everything, we look back today as it being a positive thing today. But back then, they were labeled a terrorist organization.
I'm sorry. Who? I missed what you said. Who?
The Black Panthers.
Yeah, but wait, hold on. This is different. They're different. They were grassroots organized. They took some money from like small chunks from white people.
Black Panther being a pacific, organization, not quite. They were very much armed and ready to fight.
Yeah, but they were organized. You know that they actually went back and they had a breakfast program for the Black communities, and they were very active in trying to actually go into the inner cities and uplift the Black communities. And they also patrolled their communities to stop the police violence. They actually were really active in that. And I think
this is what we see now. The problem with what I have with the perception of the Black Lives Matter movement is that people are not trying to make it better. People are not trying to put inputs so that it can improve. People are just trying to get rid of it. And and it's sad that instead of trying to be together, instead of trying to build something that could lead to progress, most people are either out there to join them or to destroy them. But that's not constructive. That's at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure that the goals of the people that are out there trying to protest and everything is to make a better life for tomorrow for their children. And then, if they take that responsibility to take the risk to go to jail, get shot by the police, they don't do it because they need attention or just because, that's fun to do right now. They do it because they want progress. And I'm not saying they're going the right way about it.
Yeah.
But I think that instead of going away from it, we should go towards it and try to give inputs to make it better, to center it. And, now we're talking about the Black Panthers because we know what they are historically. But back then, people didn't view Black Panthers like this. People view Black Panthers the same way they view the Black Lives Matter movement right now as a terrorist organization.
I would not compare that. Like, I really wouldn't. I said, okay, let me say this. Like, first of all, I'm not out to destroy Black Lives Matter. I just don't agree with how they're doing things. From my point of view, from what I've seen, it looks like they're trying to flip oppression in order to even the playing field. And to me, that's ridiculous. They're just as racist as, the KKK members that they claim that they're fighting against. And, even when I made that video, a lot of the people in the thread that were Black, that were, in support of Black Lives Matter were like saying stuff that KKK members said. So I was like, well, how does that make you better? Just because somebody has a different point of view or different way of looking at things, you're going to say, people were saying that it doesn't really, like, I'm not scared or whatever, but I'm just like, saying I should be lynched, I should be killed, I should be slapped. I mean, wow, this is like something that KKK people are saying, Yeah,
people get emotional, mainly,
Yeah, I know, I get that, but I mean, still, it's the same to me. It's coming from the same seed of hatred. Now, I think that there are a lot of good people in the movement. I do believe that there are people that have the best intentions. My thing is, like I said, George Soros, there are outside influences that are using their anger, and they're not like I said. And then when I talk about that, like, I think the real healing needs to come. Like, I agree with you about the prison system and how that needs to be reformed. I think there needs to be more support on, helping people that get out of prison, no matter what race, but if we're on Black people right now. So people getting better support in starting their lives over, maybe becoming entrepreneurs, having skills, getting away from that lifestyle, healing the trauma that's happened in prison, because there are a lot of, Black men that are raped and abused in prison, as a result of being in there. Even if they weren't violent offenders, they have a lot of emotional and psychological trauma that they have to overcome when getting out of that situation. So, Black Panthers, again, going back to them, I know that there's been at least 3 Black Panthers that have commented on Black Lives Matter that said that they basically pretty much what I've said, that it's kind of like a plan. I know Elaine Brown. Do you know Elaine Brown?
Yeah.
Elaine Brown said it was, She said it was like a plantation mentality. Mason Weaver has commented on it. I mean, I look at the Black Panthers, I look at some of their stuff, and they were more organized. They had anger, but it was very constructive. They were classier. They had more of an agenda. And honestly, there's a really, I don't know if you've seen this, if you can get anybody that's watching, you can get a hold of this documentary. And I don't like all of the stuff that PBS does, but PBS did a really good documentary on the Black Panthers. And they honestly started becoming a threat when they started seeing a lot of the oppression as being a class issue. And they start to reach out to other races, and they even started to reach out to white groups and stuff. And they were actually starting to expand over abroad. They had forgot somebody in Vietnam to like give them an office. It was crazy. So I think that's when the government really started to see them as a threat, when they started to they actually were starting to unify people. So it started off as a Black thing, but then it expanded, and they realized that it was a class issue. And it really is, between the haves and have-nots. And I'm not even talking about somebody that's a billionaire or millionaire necessarily, because I don't think because you're a billionaire or a millionaire that makes you an evil person. But there are people that have lots of money that they social engineer societies, and they benefit from Black people running around like a chicken with their heads cut off and not really resolving anything. And to me, they're like, oh, well, they thrive off of like making footage of police brutality, and they're getting Black people to look over here, when really our numbers are dwindling and we're dying because more Black people are killing each other over here. And the thing is, like, I just think that Black people don't want to look bad or like they're doing anything bad. But if more Black people are dying via this method, we need to figure out why that is and stop that. Because at the end of the day, if we really are going to go up against the system and riot, we don't even have the numbers. To me, it's not really like a wise decision, because we're outnumbered. We're like, what, 13% of the population? I'm just saying, like, if all Black people were to rise up and be like, all right, and riot or whatever, like, a lot of Black people don't have knowledge of weapons. Say we were successful and we overthrow or whatever. We don't have knowledge on, I know I'm being general, but a lot of Black people, including myself, which I'm trying to get knowledge of, but we don't know how to do stuff like build houses or fish or garden. I mean, what's going to come of this at the end of the day? We're going a little late. Do you have like 2 more minutes or so?
Oh, no, it's I'm good. So what I was saying, the thing with the Black Lives Matter movement right now, agree that they're not going about it the right way. They're not organized. This is something that you can clearly see. My problem is that people are more focused on trying to, contradict them or be against them, rather than trying to unify them and to make them better. You mentioned a few people that were from the Black Panther movement and that criticize, the Black Lives Matter movement, when they should be the one stepping in front and saying, we have experience, we can turn your movement into something positive. Let's make that happen. But the problem is that instead of this, we're dividing, and we're basically 2 categories of people who actually want to help at the end of the day, but then we're fighting amongst each other instead of joining, making something tangible happen. I'm not feel like the Black Lives Matter movement is doing is wrong, then my to join them and to something interior, to try to make events happen, to try to push them into the right direction that I feel like should help the Black community. But it wouldn't be to either criticize them or be against them, because at the end of the day, this is the type of behavior that divides us,
But I think that you need to, no matter what race you are, if you're doing something that you don't see that's making a positive impact, that you should criticize people because they're not going to get better. It's called tough love. You know what I mean? Hold on, my computer is dying. I'm gonna get my I'm gonna plug it in.
Yep.
It's tough love. You know what I mean? How are people going to get better if you're not criticizing them? You can't just you know, like you said, like a child, like, you know, hold their hands. You know, they're adults. So if you're just like, well, these demands that you're demanding of people aren't really gonna set things right, you know. You being racist towards non-blacks aren't gonna, you know, is it gonna, yeah, like I'm gonna criticize that because I don't agree with that, you know. Like I said, I believe that there are people with good intentions in the movement that want to see positive change, but
that if I have something to criticize, in order to make it something positive, then I would join them. I would join them and then criticize them from the inside, from, you know, a point of view where I can try to change something and not a divisive point, you know, because it's to be.
Do you think it would be more effective to like just create another movement? I also feel like too that it's become such a cult-like mentality that if you want to create a movement that's going to do something about race, and to me it seems like it would just be more effective just to start another movement and then hope people join that one, because to fix inside.
Point that maybe in the US, and to be honest, most people criticizing the Black Lives Matter movement are, you know, in the US, but there is actually a Black Lives Matter movement in Canada, in France. There's the Black Lives Matter movement that has inspired people beyond the US. And then something that had, you know, such a powerful impact on people in general, whether it was positive or negative, should be used as a force. Creating another group right now, you might not get all this attention. You might not get all this relevance that they have today. This is something that should be used. And even if right now, you know, they're not doing the best right now, it's not something that has to remain the case. I think it would be more productive to join and help and make it better, and, you know, try to change it from the inside by, you know, being united with people who at the end of the day want the progress that you going towards also, and then using all of this to make it a positive force. And, you know, to me, since 2013, this has been something that I didn't even think was possible, that Black people could actually just unite together behind one thing, not in the era that we live right now, and then, you know, be out there in the street, put their lives on the side, and then be out there in the streets because one other Black innocent person got killed. This is actually inspirational, but if it has,
but is it stopping the killing? Is it stopping the killing? Is it stopping the injustice?
It's not. So we should keep fighting, because stop it either. So they should keep at it. They should keep people wondering why that is. I believe that just being out there, in protests in France, in Canada, Black people in the US have problems everywhere. But this was viewed as aberration. It was viewed in a thought about could unite behind anything.
No.
That they actually did. And just that fact, that tension, you know, is. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. Yeah, you froze a little bit. Could you back up? And you were saying, could you back up to just give it a minute? I just see. Am I freezing too? Oh no. Hold on, hold on. I'm gonna, okay, maybe. Hello? Hello, hello?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you back up to saying that you were saying you were inspired to see Black people unite behind somebody being killed, and then I was like, well, that's not stopping the killings, and then you said, and then you froze after that.
Yeah, so basically what I was saying is that even though it's not stopping it now, this is more reason to keep fighting, to find better strategies. But still, you have a wave of people that have been inspired for change. You have a group of people that actually came out of their houses and then united together for a cause, whether they're doing it the right way or not. And then the people that are, either intelligent enough or that have enough experience to guide it towards something better are running away from it instead of building on that.
Well, I mean, when you think people are gonna, you think people should unite and march against the black on black crime? To me, that's just more of an. I know
that's
I keep
something
bringing that up. And to me, this is more of an issue because the numbers clearly are larger.
But that's something that's already there. There is already organization like Don't Shoot. No, not Don't Shoot. I don't remember the name of some of the organization that I've seen. But there are organizations out there that are here for that.
Not as powerful as Black Lives Matter, though. Like what? Oh, in Canada? You mean in Canada?
I'm talking in the U.S. And I'm sure I can find you the list.
But it's not getting the footage, and it's not getting as many people behind it. Which I feel like Black Lives Matter is really putting their focus on cops, where it would be great. Like I feel like if Black Lives Matter were to turn their focus more to like things like a lot of Black babies being aborted, or like the gang violence, and we're trying to stop that, then that's something that I could get behind, because I feel like that's more of an impact.
But the Black Lives movement wasn't built on that. The Black Lives Matter movement it came out of a hashtag. It came out of the hashtag after somebody got killed by the cops, and then that hashtag, reunited a bunch of people into a protest. But it was started on, I don't remember who was it exactly that got killed when they created it.
But I mean, to me, Black Lives Matter should encompass not just cops, it should encompass everything, because it's about Black people dying, right? It's about Black people getting killed. So it should encompass more than just, why is it just focused only on police? And I know, like, I have a cousin that's a cop, and he's the type of person, he went into being a cop, to try and change it from the inside. He's the type, that wants to see change on the inside.
No, I agree with this, but the thing when the Black Lives Matter movement was created, from what I've read about them, and from the videos that I've seen, the people that talk, in the name of the Black Lives Matter movement. What I've understood from this is that it was built on getting justice for the people that were killed. It wasn't built against cops. It was built to make cops accountable for that type of events.
Well, when I've seen videos, I'm just saying, when I've seen videos, I've seen people marching in the streets with posters saying, policemen need to die. There's a huge group marching down saying, what do we want? Dead cops. When do we want them? Now? So how do you not, to me, I'm like, I look at that, I'm like, that's crazy.
But to see, that's part of.
But that's what happens. So maybe, I would be open to the fact that maybe they get started with good intentions, but it's been infiltrated now.
But everything like this gets infiltrated. It would be like me telling you that Christianity is a bad thing because there's a bunch of Christians with posts everywhere saying God doesn't love fags. You can't control what everybody is going to do, But then,
I just haven't seen, and I've looked for it, and this is even from other Black people on that have been promoting this. It's not just like a media thing trying to like paint Black Lives Matter as bad, but anything that I've seen come from Black Lives Matter has been racist or violent. And to me, I don't see, like I said, I think that the people that started off with good intentions, I think there are a lot of good people in the movement that do want to see change, but what it's becoming and what they're standing behind is violence and you know, like chaos.
I can send you.
I'm criticizing that because A, it's no better than the people that they're fighting against, and B, I don't think it's going to accomplish anything.
I've seen
like, so what's the difference between like Black Lives Matter and Martin Luther King and his movement then, right? They were able to accomplish a lot of stuff. You know, Gandhi, they got their ideas from Gandhi. Gandhi was able to get British people kicked out, you know, not like, I don't even think I can do that. Like, I don't have the patience to do like have a nonviolence. Like, I don't even think I could. Like, my hats go off to them. But if you look at like Gandhi and Martin Luther King, they had more, you know, impact, and they accomplished more by being nonviolent.
But then you're comparing something that happened over a long period to something that literally just started. The Black Lives Matter movement.
But I mean, no, but why can't I compare that? Because I'm comparing what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, but it's just started. We don't even know where it's going to go, or if it's going to take a better course, or if, you know, people are going to join in and bring an impact to it that makes it more relevant or more efficient. But it's by killing it where it starts, you're not making.
I'm not killing it. I'm criticizing it, and I don't agree with it. If people want to join Black Lives Matter, that's them. But to me, I'm saying what I see right now. So I think people need to say this, like me, okay? So I'm saying I see violence, I see hatred, I see chaos. Okay, clean it up, and then maybe I'll, you know.
But I've seen this.
I'll stand behind it.
People from the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, make you know, appearances against the violence that was happening. But those are not the type of stuff that you would see, because that's not what people want to you know, project off of that movement. I've seen a video today of, you know, a girl explaining, you know, a lot of things that people didn't understand about the Black Lives Matter movement. And, you know, by just seeing that video, a lot of things made a lot of sense. The problem is that, and you said that before, a lot of people build their opinion on whatever's trending, whatever the media is kind of leading them to.
But I've really gone out because I know, like, being from LA and being in the Hollywood environment, I know how media manipulates things, and I made it a purpose to see if there have been, you know, if there are other points of view that doesn't show what I've seen, and I haven't been able to find any.
I'm sure.
And the stuff that I'm getting from is from other Black people posting their thoughts and what they're saying, and not like from watching mainstream media and what they're projecting.
But the thing with this is that it goes both ways. When we talk about, you know, the influence of, you know, things that are trending, or, you know, social media, or even, you know, the media in general, it goes both ways. Some of them would lead you to, you know, see the Black Lives Matter movement as a good thing, and some of them would tell you that it's a terrorist organization. I was fascinated when I was looking at the news from two different news outlets, you know, Fox or CNN, or even, you know, NBC, and, you know.
This is me like doing a search on YouTube and trying to find specific videos with Black Lives Matter. So I'm saying I've seen like not from news outlets. I'm talking about, like, you know, people, their own personal posts. Like, there was this one, the one girl that I was talking about like how, like, white people need to give over their land, and that they're inherently racist, and it's in their DNA. It's the same stuff that KKK members would say about us. Like, you know, that we weren't human, you know, that Black people weren't human at one time. I'm just like, you're reversing the oppression.
that's a stupid thing to say. But
It is.
then it goes both ways. You have
Can I
people,
criticize that? Can I say that that's stupid?
of course, but you can't attribute this, the comment of one person, to the entire Black Lives Matter movement. It's unfair. It
Well,
will be
no,
the same.
because I've seen lots of videos like that. That was an example of one that I saw. But I've seen, how about the people like marching in the streets saying that what do they want? Dead cops. When do they want it now? So my cousin, that's a cop that's trying to do a good thing and change the police force from the inside. Who doesn't hate Black people, who has a Black wife with with Black children. Like so he's automatically now under attack because of that. Like, can you say just like, okay, you're saying go change Black Lives Matter from the inside. Could you say that about people? Why don't people join the police force and change it from the inside? Could they do that?
People are trying to do that. You telling me yourself that your cousin is trying to
Yeah,
do
so I'm just saying, like.
And I don't, but still, the fact is that
that's possible?
Say what?
Do you think that's possible to change it from the inside?
I do.
Okay.
I do think like the police. I think the police has a really shitty job. Like they have the worst job because they have to do a lot of things. They're unpaid, untrained.
Right. They're not. It's a stressful situation.
But
a lot of the cops are out of shape and overweight. Like I would not.
The problem with this is that it affects innocent people. Innocent people are being killed. And the attitude in general of the police is not to say, okay, we will do something to make sure that doesn't happen. Instead, they come out saying, oh, we approve this shooting and we're not going to prosecute, or we're not going to jail that person. And this does not seem like progress.
I have a question. How many times have you been harassed by the cops?
Way too much. When I lived in, I used to live, when I was in the States, I lived 5 years in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard a little bit about Newark, New Jersey, but it's not a really good area. But my university
is it like not a good area because it's like white people in it and like.
No, it's just a very
because there are a lot of racist white people, or is it like a gang area, like or what?
It used to be very gang related, a lot of the bad neighborhoods in, like Brooklyn and like they used to be. It's changing a lot, but when I came in, it was just a bad neighborhood. It's actually where I met a lot of Black people that were struggling, that were doing criminal things, and it gave me like another perspective on a lot of things that I thought were easy to understand. And I've been harassed. I was one day in the car. I think I was doing maybe like 68 or 70 on a 65. And then the cop pulled me over to tell me that I was.
Wait, you were what? You were on the freeway and he pulled you over?
Yeah, he pulled me over, told me that, I was like at 68 or 70, but basically I was a little bit over the speed limit, and that he just wanted to give me a warning and check if my friend is Asian, who was with me, was okay. And
okay. I mean, it's not funny, but it's like, what? Okay. No, I believe you. I'm just saying, like.
And, other times it was in the metro. One time I was coming off of school, and then I see that police car. I go down because I was living really close to my school, and I started walking, to get home. And then the same police car comes out and pulls up next to me and tells me that, they've been alerted that someone was lurking with, threatening attitude or whatever, and that what am I doing here at this time, and where am I living, and I've never felt that threatened in my entire life. And those are the people that are supposed to be reassuring to me, not threatening. So there is a problem, and the problem is that even though it's addressed badly.
Have you ever been shot at or like wrongly arrested?
Not wrongly arrested. I've been interrogated roughly. People, being straight up just disrespectful.
I will say too, as a woman, like I'm not, even as a Black woman, I think even more Black men or Latino men probably get more mess with just because you're men. You know what I mean? Like women aren't as intimidating to other men.
Most likely, but
you know what I mean? So I mean, like I can't say that I've had that experience personally as a woman, as even being Black as a woman too. I just think that men, we have it a little rougher because if they're, you know what I mean, like other men, they're just going to be more. They're going to be more like they're going to mess with other men because other men are more intimidating. You know, I'm not like excusing them. I'm just saying like I will give that to you because I don't know what that's like.
But it is something very real. I have my best friend. He still lives in Jersey, and he was pulled over. And then when he was pulled over, he wasn't speeding or anything. Other cop car pulled over too, and then they told him that he was fitting a description and that they had a warrant for his arrest. Back at the station, he asked to see the warrant. He asked that the warrant was brought to him and everything, which is his right. Until the police officer made him understand that it doesn't matter if we have to do this the hard or the easy way, but you're going to end up at the station. And then he had to comply. At the end of the day, he spent the entire night in jail, then paid $350, bond. And then a week later, when he presented himself to the judge, they told him, it was a mistake.
You know, my dad, this is in the 60s. My parents had me late. So my parents are in their 70s now. And both my parents are Black, contrary to, anyway, people think I'm the thread. But my dad was coming out. I know this sounds stereotypical, but I swear to God, he was probably in his 20s. And he was working as an editor at ABC television. He's coming home. And he gets pulled over by the cops. And he got accused of robbing, I swear to God, but this is what he told me, a KFC, right? But, I know, I tell people that, they laugh, right? So he had an alibi. He got arrested. He was thrown in jail. He had an alibi. And it checked out, and they released him. And then my dad's like, I'm going to call the cops. I'm going to blah, 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 and give me your badge number. And then the cop was like, oh, well, yeah, we're just going to find drugs on you, So I think that was one of my dad's first wake-up call as to the police force being corrupt. But at the same time, he's also said, and he's been messed with by the cops too. And we've had this conversation, and he was talking about, I think as a Black man you'll get messed with more than me, than I would, just because men are intimidated by other men. But at the end of the day, he doesn't hate all cops, and he would be also one of the first people to say that he's also had pleasant experiences with cops as well, and that they're just people. They're people.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, I think police corruption is a larger problem. I think it, they say power corrupts and absolute power. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I think I said that right. Right? And if you are a racist person that couldn't, exercise your racism on the scale of like the Clintons or Bill Gates or George Soros, like I'm saying, you should look into what I'm saying, I swear to God. But it would be an ideal to be a cop, that's a position of power that you can get into society to exercise your racism if you're a racist person. And then there's also elements of like group mentality and group think about once you get into and you have other people that agree with you, then you can gang up on, other people. So I will say, as far as like some of the police brutality, cases, I would have to look at those case by case. And I will also say that there is a problem with police brutality. I wouldn't say it's necessarily exclusive to race. I think yes, there is racism in instances, but I also think that cops are just, they know you have power. They're going to do what the fuck they want. Because who's going to call the cops on them? They're the cops. You know, they're going to, you're going to call the cops on the cops? You know?
The problem with that.
So I get that. So say that, like, again, we have this side where a lot of Black people are being, you know, say if we're just looking only at the Black people that are being, you know, killed by cops, right? If you look at this side where there are more Black people being killed by each other, can it be possible if you say Black Lives Matter, can we encompass both and look at both and try and fix both? So just more Black people or less Black people are dying in general.
I don't think that those are two issues that you can just combine. I think the
Black Lives Matter.
I think the systematic targeting of Black people by the police in general, you know, shown by the stats, shown by you know, the experience of most Black people in America and even other countries, even though it's a little bit less. You know, you have to try to, you know, fix one problem at a time. You're not going to fix everything, you know, in one shot. But this, the reason why this has become the national thing is because there's been videos. There's been videos showing murders circulating on the internet, murders of innocent people. And then when people...
You don't think that that's... I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm saying it hasn't happened. You don't think it's exacerbated? If this was an epidemic of this happening all the time, every day, wouldn't there be hundreds of videos instead of like the media picking a few and then you know, amplifying it and riling people up?
But I mean, at the end of the day...
There would be hundreds. I just think if it was like so many, there would be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these videos that you can go and look, like hundreds of them.
But the problem is that for the past, 4 years, it's been too much already. It's been too much already. You don't need 100 innocent people being, you know, killed by cops to figure out that there is a cop problem. As long as even one innocent people died like this and you were able to see it, and then the stats are proving to you that, yeah, Black people are targeted by the police as a general culture, you know, in America, then, you know, you should address this. And I think it's more important to address this than to, you know, twist it into, you know, another issue or something else, because it's right there in your face. And people are scared. You have children that are scared of cops. I'm scared of cops. And I live in Canada. But I still kept that mentality of, you know, cops are not here to help me. They're here to help.
You think that I think that's also a conspiracy. I think there's a conspiracy to keep Black people in fear, right? It's still kind of like this thing where it's like kind of the master slave mentality. If Black people are in fear, but the cops are in fear too, right? I mean, it's fear on both sides. So you have these people that are like, you know, against each other or in a situation, and if one of them breaks, just bad shit happens. You know what I mean? Whether it's like a white person, not even necessarily being racist, but a white person just out of their anxiety or their PTSD, like firing, or the Black person just reacting because they're scared too. It becomes this thing where
I agree with. The problem is that when a Black person goes out and kills a cop, he goes to jail for life. He'll probably get the chair, you know. So at the end of the day, justice is done. But when a cop shoots an innocent Black guy in front of his family, or shoots a kid, or, you know...
Are they all innocent though? Are they? Like, is every single one of them innocent?
Well, most of the cases that we've seen, they were innocent. They were proven innocent. The only justification is that they justified that he has reasonable fear for his life from somebody who didn't have a weapon. And that
I think it was,
that is
I honestly did not, I have not gone and looked at all the cases in details. I know that Michael Brown didn't have a weapon, but he was charging at the cop, right?
So you should, as a cop, be trained to.
But if somebody's charging at you, like, I don't think it's a good idea to charge at somebody that has a gun.
But
you know what I mean? Like, are you going to charge at a cop that has a gun that maybe is not right? You know, maybe, you know, like I said, the whole thing about like the PTSD and the stress and the anxiety.
But how many cops have been killed by people grabbing their guns? It never happens. And it's like, well, they're scared of
it. You don't think he was defending himself? The guy's running at it? I'm just saying, like, how should he have handled that situation?
How come America is the only country where resisting arrest gets you killed?
You're not supposed to resist arrest.
It should not be.
You're not supposed, because, I mean, honestly, like, as a cop, like, if I was a cop and I'm trying to arrest you and you're resisting arrest, like, my life can be in danger. So I'm not even caring about the person. I'm like looking out for my life.
But that's not how people.
How would you handle somebody that if you're a cop and they're resisting arrest?
You should have a training based on this. I believe cops are trained to deal with people who are resisting arrest. And I'm pretty sure their training is not to pull out their guns and shoot. If you don't have I've seen people resist people charging at them without a gun. You know,
so how do they handle it? I'm genuinely curious. How do they handle it?
They have training. People in France.
Yeah, but I'm like, how do they handle it? Like, do they you can't let the person get away.
They have tasers.
How do you arrest them? So do they get out their billy club? Do they use like, you think he should have been tasered instead? Like, you know, can't outrun the person and jump on them? Like, how do you stop a person? You're trying to arrest them. They need to be arrested. How do you stop them without shooting them? I'm not saying that shooting is the only option. So it's out of the picture.
Hand-to-hand combat.
How do you stop them?
There are hand-to-hand combat techniques. There are, you have a taser, you have the baton. Plenty of
tasers, batons. Okay.
Without killing them, ending their entire life, and then you find out that some of them were innocent.
Okay. Okay.
To me, it's something, and I've lived in France, Canada, the US, but it's only in the US. It's only in the US where when you hear the phrase "stop resisting," you start fearing for your life, because resisting arrest can end your entire life. And
when you hear the phrase "stop resisting," are the people actually resisting, or they're just saying that?
No, so sometimes, I haven't seen an instance where somebody has actually, said that without it happening. But I can tell you for a fact that it would be my worst fear, being in front of a cop and then him starting to say "stop resisting" when I'm not even resisting.
Yeah. That sounds like a setup. Yeah, I can see that.
Not to reach, when I'm not reaching for anything, like, I would literally shit myself. And this is a scenario that people, in America today are just like paranoid about. And it came from the fact that you have people that have been shown on tape doing it.
Yeah.
And instead of getting together and fixing this problem, like half of the country is more worried about, but Black people are kind of making this about race. This is even worse.
I think because they're, like you said, that they're, it's not always about race.
It's not, but then
it's not always about race. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not always about race.
But
just
the most
a white cop pulls a Black cop over, or vice versa, doesn't necessarily mean it's a racist thing. It just depends.
But my point is, your priority shouldn't be to look at it if it's not about race or not. It should be to fix the police issue.
Well, to me, it's about truth. Yeah, it's about it's not about race. I can definitely get behind reforming the police department and the justice system and all of that. To me, at the end of the day, it's really about power. you know?
But that power right now is in a system that is against Black people. So the consequences are affecting Black people more. And the truth is, a lot of people are looking out there and saying, if that person was white, then, they probably wouldn't have shot him. Or they probably, the cop would have been in jail. And the fact that nobody has ever been actually convicted for committing such a crime is, to me, one of the reasons why this civil unrest and people destroying things and etc. is not even going to calm down at all. Because at the end of the day,
and it's not going to solve anything at all either.
The police department is even making an effort to denounce it. Because you told me earlier that, yes, you have cops that are trying to change the system from the inside. But then every time an incident like this happens, you can clearly see it's in front of your eyes. There's no reason for that cop to have shot that person or whatever. But then he's backed up by the police department. And then they're going to say, oh, no, it was perfectly justified that an innocent people just died without being armed or without, without him asking for it. And that in itself, to me, should be the priority of everyone. It should be the only thing people care about. But what I see instead is that people are more preoccupied about one side making sure to make the point that it's about Black people, and then the other side making sure that no, they want to make it known that no, it's not about Black people.
Because
it happens. But then
I also think that there's this disconnect too, because there've been a lot of white people that feel that they've been brutalized by the police and treated unfairly by the police too. So they're like, well, the police have messed with me and I've been wrongly jailed, and so I don't see it as a race issue. I see it as a police brutality issue. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, so when I can see that point too, when there are Black people saying, oh, it's just against Black people, but then when you're a non-Black person, has been brutalized by the police too, they're going to be like, well, I was brutalized too. Like, what about me? Like, see what I'm saying? Like, I can roll in your eyes. I'm just saying, like.
To me, it's one of the main issues is that people, when they hear somebody else complaining and trying to make it about them, they feel like, no, how come he's getting the attention? I need attention from you too.
Well, if they feel like they were unjustly treated, then that's justified. So you're saying that the people, like I have a friend too that was white who was wrongly jailed for like a few years, right? So when this comes up and he talks about his experience, is he not allowed to talk about that? He wrote a book about it.
He is.
Is he not allowed to talk about that?
But
so that's what I'm saying too. I think that this is where the thing comes in. Or maybe if we come together and realize it's a power issue or it's not only about race, then maybe there could be some unity about that. I know you're rolling your eyes. I'm just saying though.
No, the thing that I'm saying is that you wouldn't hear Hispanic people.
Sorry, what?
You wouldn't hear Hispanic people complain about the Black Lives Matter movement, because the truth is that even though they are kind of living the same thing, or even Muslim people in America that are being treated like shit right now, they could see it the same way, but then they're not the ones that are against the Black Lives Matter movement.
Well, I think that actually I had a lot of Hispanic people on my thread that actually
they could be the
agree with what I was saying
against. And even though you think that it's not a Black issue, going against the Black Lives Matter movement, which is trying to fight that issue, just because you don't want it to be about race, then you end up fighting the person that's fighting the same fight as you.
But they make it all about race. They're the ones that are making it about race. And they're like, and they think, I feel like their philosophy, it's like, well, if we do to white people, what has been done to us, that's going to level the playing field. It's going to be an eye for eye. To me, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense.
They're not asking for white people to be treated the same way. They're asking to be
no. I from what I've seen, they're saying that. Okay, never mind. Go on. Yeah, you're right. Go on.
Yeah, they're basically not saying the police should also kill white people, you know? They're just saying they should stop killing black people because statistically, it is shown that they are killing more black people and that they are arresting more black people. And that as a black person, you have more chance of getting shot by the police just by the fact that you're black. And, you know, just
to me, like that goes that, like, to me, I'm saying again, that's why I'm going back into the gang issue, that like there are more black people committing like crime and black on black crime. So if you're in that realm of committing crime, that you're going to be shot.
But
likely. Have you heard of any instances of like businessmen or people
that's what we've seen. None of the people that were, you know, trending.
Or like, you know, somebody that was in like a well-to-do area that was black, that, you know, wasn't in the realm of doing stuff illegal.
Look at Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin was not a thug. What was the name of the other guy? I think it was Castile something. He wasn't a member of a gang. Those were the people that have been trending lately, being killed by the cops. They were not thugs. They were just normal people, and that's what the outrage is about. Nobody is crying over a thug.
Who are the normal people?
Nobody.
I'm asking because I don't know. Like I will admit I could delve deeper, and I will. But who are the normal people?
No, there was Trayvon Martin, which was he was a 17-year-old kid who was living in the white neighborhood and who got confused, you know, for somebody who wanted to, you know, burglarize houses, and then this guy just shot him and didn't go to jail because, you know, he felt like.
I kind of looked into that, and I noticed too that story was manipulated. Like, first of all, there was a tape of the guy talking about like the guy was like attacking him and stuff, and like he was saying that he didn't want to shoot him. And then they put up this picture of Trayvon Martin being like a 12-year-old kid, and they didn't put up like an older picture to make it look like it was more innocent. And then like I know that they hired like a PR firm to like exacerbate like stuff what happened. And then they were saying it was a black and white thing, but the guy was like Latino. So I think that also too that these
I've seen it the other way around. I've seen it the other way around. I've seen Martin being painted as a thug. I've seen them pick the worst pictures of his profile pictures and then, you know, make it seem like, oh, yeah, he does kind of look dangerous. When at the end of the day, it was just a 17-year-old.
I saw them do that afterwards, but before, when it first, I didn't follow it. I saw it when it first happened, and they put the 12-year-old picture up to make it look like it was this little boy. You know, and to me that evokes an emotional response. She's like, "Oh my God, this cute little boy, this man beat up the cute little boy," and then
That always, when it comes to the media, I agree with you that the media is very influential in telling you what to think, but I think it goes both ways. I think
I can see that. Oh, okay. I will concede and say
on you know your agenda, on the agenda that whatever you're following, if you don't look at every type of source, you're not going to make any type of informed decision because you have to look at it as a broad.
That's true. That's true. And I feel like you should do the same with Black Lives Matter as well.
No, I do. I see the bad things of it.
We have different views about we have different views on what they're trying to accomplish. I
agree that they have bad sides. I agree that a lot of people that are claiming to be associated with them are doing bad things. I agree that they're not organized, and that in order for them to be taken seriously, to start accomplishing things, they need the voice of people to join them with more experience, with more, with more patience, with more knowledge. But this is, instead of doing this, we're just there, just bashing, into each other, and instead of turning it into a positive thing. This is kind of my problem with that.
Okay.
But obviously, there's good and bad sides, of everything. If you look at Fox, then you'll have a specific point of view. If you look at CNN, then you'll have another specific point of view. But then if you look at the news in France telling you about the exact same thing, then it has nothing to do with Fox, because both of them have their agenda. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
But then, people are so focused on what they think their opinion is that they're not taking the time to have a conversation and to try to understand the other side and to try to.
Go on. I'm sorry. I think we were done. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, it's okay. And then, at the end of the day, it ends up being not something positive at all, because you have two people fighting, and then you create just a bunch of divisions where conversation should be. And that's, to me, one of the main issues. I was laughing with a friend today because a lot of people, supporting Donald Trump, or the new big thing is the fake news, right? The media are lying, and then it's a conspiracy and everything.
They are.
But then
they really are.
But then, as a Trump supporter, you should have the responsibility to hold your leader to the same standards. And this guy has been caught lying about like a bunch of things. So how do you turn out?
What has he lied about?
This person and this person is lying when you're not even able to do the same thing.
What has he lied about?
Oh, believe me, I've seen.
No, tell me. Give me an example. Have you heard? Have you heard that he lied about something, or you have a specific example of what he lied about?
He lies. Let me show you. I'll send you a link where it's I think it's PolitiFacts or something like this, where they basically just check whatever people are saying, and then they tell you, is it true or is it not? And then there's just a bunch of declarations that Trump has made whenever he says that, oh, no other president has passed that many legislation before. It's not true.
Wait, who's talking? Is he talking about himself or somebody else?
Yeah, he's talking about himself. And he's made declaration like this. He made a declaration. He posted a video about a kid assaulting another kid, and it was captioned, "A Muslim kid beats up Dutch kid." And then the Dutch government had to make a statement saying that no, the kid wasn't Muslim. He was just a black-haired, Dutch kid, and it was just a fight between two kids. But then, they're willing to put the media on trial for, lying. But then the hypocrisy about it is that they're not willing to do the same thing for their side. And then it's something that happens on both sides. Democrats are the same. Republicans, Democrats, they're exactly the same. They're going to tell you that the other side is lying and show you the lies of the other side, but then they won't look at themselves. People who were for Hillary were incapable of accepting that she was not good for the country. And then on the other hand, people who see Donald Trump doing things incredible, calling the leader of somebody.
Well, Donald Trump didn't steal from Haiti. Donald Trump didn't erase, delete emails. She didn't, put the lives of soldiers in danger. I mean,
but then he's
he's not associated with pedophiles and stuff like the Clintons are.
He's leading. He's baiting a leader of another country, insulting him on social media, to the point of provoking a nuclear war. Wait, who you talking about?
Kim Jong-un?
Yeah.
Nobody. But Yeah, but if you follow I mean, this was already escalating before Trump got into office. It's not. Well, first of all, let me just say this: I'm not, like I said, I didn't vote for Trump or Hillary. I definitely stand behind Trump more over Hillary, though. I'm not a Republican. I'm not I don't. Maybe I have some conservative values. I think I have some libertarian values as well. So I'm not on Twitter. Like, I don't follow Trump. I'm not on Twitter every day. I'm not, I care about that he's bringing jobs back. I care about that he got us off the TPP. I care about stuff like that. I'm not looking every day to like see whether he's, what he's tweeting and stuff. Me personally, I'm not.
I am, and I feel like I am, and I'm not even, I'm not even living in this.
Why? To me, that's just so petty. Like, that doesn't have any. I mean,
no, because
I'm just like.
I feel like nobody should have an opinion until they have made the necessary, research on the subject, and just the fact that
happens a lot, though. Everybody, most people are. I'm just saying.
But that's the thing. The problem is that most people today have opinions. They have big opinions, but then none of them made the research. Or they made the research about the opponent to prove to you that the opponent is lying. But then they're not willing themselves to make the research about their sides to see if the people on their sides are lying too. And then
I've seen that more on the Democratic side, actually. But I mean, I'm not saying that the right doesn't do that as well. But I mean, honestly, the hypocrites have exposed themselves more, like way more. If I had to pick a side, on the left side.
Oh, to be honest,
as far as like Trump's little like tweets and stuff, like I'm not even.
I've seen
it
both.
Doesn't even affect me. It's just I feel like when people are doing stuff like that, they're just like sore losers and they're mad that they lost and they're just trying to nitpick every little thing.
And I kind of the great hypocrisy of this entire system. To be honest, fundamentally, I'm more of a Republican than a Democrat. You look at the two, I think progress and competition is a little bit, should prevail when it comes to, the social issues. I'm definitely not a socialist. I do agree with a lot of the Republican values. I separate them a lot from conservative values, which is something that a lot of people have mixed a lot.
Yeah, they collapse them together for sure, yeah.
And then it turned into a mix that has nothing to do with, either Republican or anything anymore. It's just a bunch of people just having agendas and just making them pass. And I feel like it's both sides like this. And none of those sides are, honest, to be honest. None of those sides are honest. I didn't feel like Hillary Clinton, I was against her. I wanted her to lose, even though I'm not even living in the US. And
you killed us all. We would be so messed up.
No, and
anyway.
But then, I can't say that Trump is better either. Because at the end of the day, I looked at both sides with a critical view, and maybe it's because I'm on the outside of it. But I really looked at both sides with a critical eye, and I just see hypocrites on both sides. Hypocrites that are willing to criticize the other side, but then not look at their side with a critical view. I find that this is one of the main part of the divide of the country right now.
Well, for me, Trump getting elected, I didn't think he was going to win. I I was actually depressed because I thought Hillary was going to steal it, and
I predicted that.
like I was like, so I was actually happy to see that we won because at the end of the day, I feel like he's doing more stuff for Americans and putting Americans first than she would have done. And I feel like, to me, it's like, you're laughing about that, but I'm just like,
I don't know.
A lot of, I was happy to see him talk about like how we need to take care of them. We give so much aid and attention to outsiders when we need to be taking care of our own. And I was really down for
that. I'll give you an advice about this. When it comes to politics, stop watching it from American news outlets. Watch it from British or Canadian news outlets. because
But I
they
feel
have
like we still have the same agenda. I mean, if you get this is another topic, but if you talk about globalism and people that have sold out America's, and sell out their own interest against, or sell America's interest for their own, they come from different countries and they all have the same agenda. So I'm looking at it as a point of nationalism versus globalism. And right now, I'm more of a nationalist just because I want to see my country thrive. And I feel like if we can thrive, we get our jobs back. We get up on our feet as Americans. Then, at the end of the day, I think there will be less disparity, even less racism, because I think a lot of racism also comes out of economic strife.
We definitely disagree on that. I'm sure we can, discuss that another day because this is really going to take too long.
Yeah.
But I will tell you at least, give both a chance. Don't.
I've actually lived outside the country, and I have watched. I lived in Taiwan for 2 years, so I know that there's a difference. But at the end of the day, too, what I see. When I saw too is when I lived in Asia, and I also would watch BBC stuff, that they wouldn't do any investigative reporting, that they basically just had the same talking points, and they maybe said them a little bit differently. But if you have one agenda, they'll just basically feed them through the teleprompter or whatever. There was even Amber Lyon. Do you know who she is?
No.
She worked for CNN, but she was a whistleblower that came out and basically was talking about that's what they do. Like governments also pay off, CNN.
That I agree.
At least been 3 other reporters that I know of. I think Ben Swan, Cheryl Atkins, and there's another German guy that were international reporters, and they say that people have a specific agenda, that foreign governments would pay British BBC and CNN to represent them in a certain way. So it's not none of this is fair and just. People have their agenda. So you basically have to, watch as much as you can, figure out where you stand, and then find the truth.
And then make your own research.
Make your own research, do your own research.
But
I don't feel like just because it's BBC or something outside of CNN or Fox that they're going to be fair and just either.
I agree, but at the end of the day, you get information, and it should be the role of everyone to investigate on it.
I actually watch a lot of. I watch the mainstream news outlets, and then I watch a lot of alternative news, and I also just watch other people's videos, like personal videos that they put up and their opinions where they are in the country, and try and get perspective from that. Because at the end of the day, at least, alternative media has not gotten big enough to the point where they're not out against the people. A lot of them are grassroots funded. They're for the people. They might have a specific perspective or a paradigm, but at the end of the day, I feel like they're more for the common man than these bigger news outlets are.
The thing with alternative media right now is that they do have an agenda, and the agenda is trending. Right now, a lot of people are creating information, or just putting information out there based on nothing, just to get views. This is also something that's happening, and the problem with this is that nobody.
But then but who decides that, right? You can say the same thing about mainstream media. They're creating stuff. They just have a bigger budget.
But then
they have a bigger budget.
A lot of the facts can be checked. When I hear that Donald Trump did something or said something, my first reflex isn't to just believe it and just say, oh, it came from that source, so I trust it.
Yeah, mine isn't either, actually. But I'm just
research or to make up this, and this is kind of why I'm widely critical of everyone. But then cards on the table. At the end of the day, if I do support someone, I will be able to say, okay, I support that person, even though that person lied for this or for this or for that, or, didn't tell the truth about this. But then people are not willing to do that. And the fact that people are not willing to do that just divides the entire country into 2 sets of sheep. So you basically have the left sheep and you basically have the right sheep. Now, anytime you complain about anything about race, you call a liberal. That's a new insult today. Anything that anybody who's complaining about any type of social anything is called a liberal.
Well, to me though, that's what seems like it's. I mean, that's from my experience. That's what's happening. I mean,
That's the thing. That's not liberalism.
It's not liberalism, but the people that are making that are into the SWJ movement and like the Fat Pride movement, they're liberals and they're in the victim mentality and they're into not taking responsibility.
Yeah,
that's like their modus operandi. That's their MO.
Because liberalism is more of an economic.
No, I get that, but I'm just saying they've stolen it, and they've warped.
They have liberal values for what they stand for, but then they're not just.
But it's extreme left, right? Yeah. It's extreme because there's extreme right and there's extreme left, and I think because the left has become so extreme that now there's an extreme right.
No.
I wouldn't even say that I'm an extreme right, but I don't want to have anything to do with the crazy, like extreme left.
But that's the problem. There should be conversation. There should be.
But I feel like
debates and not division.
That's great but I feel like, when Milo Yiannopoulos goes or to Berkeley, they burn the whole fucking city down instead of going to see him and then maybe making videos about or debating about it. You know what I mean? It's created this just zombie mob. So I know that people that have wanted to have debates. I mean, like the same thing with Ann Coulter or, it's coming from the left that it's doing that. I haven't seen the right conservative people burning cities down and getting violent over people that are liberal. I just haven't seen that.
You had a Nazi thing happening in Austin.
What?
People were marching with flames and stuff like that.
That wasn't in Austin. That was in Charlottesville.
Yeah, in Charlottesville.
But you know what? They were marching. They weren't violent.
Canada.
They're allowed to do that. They weren't violent. And then you know what? I had a friend that was at Charlottesville as a cameraman. Right? Did you see this? So this is what the mainstream media did not show. Because I saw a lot of personal or independent footage of this where Antifa came and they were using flamethrowers. They were beating people up. I know a guy that was a cameraman who was standing there as a cameraman. Antifa came and sprayed him point blank in the face. He's a cameraman. He's supposed to be documenting stuff.
I'm not telling you that one side is better than the other. I'm just telling you that on both sides, you have a group of hypocrites that are not one is better than the other. In
that instance, with the Charlottesville instance, if they wanted to protest, they had a right to do that because it's freedom of speech. Now they were protesting by themselves. They got a permit. Here come the Antifa people that don't have a permit and start shit. So they're stopping them from protesting and creating violence. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's like you pretty much the entire thing that happened in Germany started with a peaceful Nazi protest. There is no such thing as
it's called freedom of speech.
The entire idea of Nazi is not peaceful at all. Their entire philosophy.
I know, but they should be. When you permit people from protesting, they go underground. So in America, I'm not saying I agree with them, but they're allowed to protest. They're allowed to protest. They're allowed that. This is America. You're allowed to say, okay, we're just gonna strongly disagree, but they're allowed to do that. I know you don't agree with them. I know you don't want them to do that, but they're allowed to do that.
I think, not because you are non-violent, there is such a thing as inciting violence. But
that's what Antifa did. They incited the violence.
No, Antifa reacted violently.
No, they started it.
Nazi in the street with flames incited violence just by openly showing.
So they're protesting by themselves at night. There were no Antifa there. They marched at night with flames. No violence happened. No fighting happened. The next day, they're at the statue, still protesting, and the Antifa come and the violence starts.
It's a provocation. What do you mean you're going to be walking with flames? This is a symbolism of when they used to burn black people to crosses.
It was at night. It was at night. But see, there's a difference between marching with flames at night and then marching with flames and trying to burn people down with the flames, which they weren't doing. They were marching with the flames.
But those are.
They're allowed to do that. They weren't hurting anybody. They're allowed to do that. Now, you might be offended by it and be like, oh, that gives me flashbacks of, when black people used to get lynched, but they weren't lynching anybody. They weren't burning crosses. They weren't burning anybody on a cross. If they wanted to burn a cross, let them burn. Like, as long as nobody's on the cross, they're allowed to do that. Come on. Yes, they were. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. But if it's on their property, they're not hurting anybody. They are allowed to do that.
Such a thing as inciting violence, and to me,
not inciting violence. We'll disagree. We'll agree.
This was the lack of response of the authority. They should have never authorized something like this because they knew that it would cause violence, and at the end of the day, it did. And then
you think if they were just protesting and the Antifa people didn't show up, then there wouldn't have been violence? You think if the people that were protesting the statue just like stood there by themselves and people didn't show up to, you think that there would have been violence?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, against who though? Because they were by themselves, or they just would have started fighting each other?
But then you see something like this happening, you have a moral obligation to go, and then obviously it's going to incite people that are reacting into violence. It's like if all of a sudden
especially when people are coming at them with the Antifa people were using what do you call it? They were using like aerosol cans and blowtorches and stuff, and against people though. See, that's a difference when they're directing that at a person or when you're marching with it at night. There's a difference.
Let me ask you that. Imagine you have a group of people. I know those type of groups exist, right? Mm-hmm. You have a group of people that are protesting for the rights of pedophiles to love children. And mm-hmm. you imagine one of those groups going to, protest in the middle of a city, with things saying that, they should have the right to mess with children. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to tell me that you don't expect violence to come out of this? You don't expect...
But if they're going to protest, that's gross. They're disgusting. They're horrible, evil human beings. I don't agree with that. But if people want to protest against them, they're allowed to do that too, but they shouldn't incite violence.
I think
I'm just saying,
that type of situation, there is such a thing as inciting violence, and inciting violence is actually a registered crime. So but
that means actually putting your hands on somebody, not freedom of speech. So I think that there's a disconnect between what people view as freedom of speech and inciting violence. You know what I mean? Now, if the protesters were to touch children or to, put their, physically hurt somebody, that's inciting violence. Or to call for killing somebody, that's inciting violence. To call for hurting somebody. But if you're protesting a statue saying, hey, don't take this statue down, we're protesting right for the statue to stand. They're not saying go out and kill black people, go out and kill this person. Now, if they were to do that, then that's inciting violence. But they didn't.
If you're out there with Nazi flags, your message is already out there.
Well, the communist flag has the same meaning now. So then the communists that showed up are inciting violence as well. Then, if that's
they showed up after. They showed up after triggered by that.
So no, they showed up during.
It's like me going to insult people in the street and then not expecting somebody to become violent with me. Like I'm
I've
not.
had friends that have been Trump supporters that have been beat up or accosted for being a Trump supporter, wearing a Trump shirt, wearing a Trump hat, been beat up.
I've seen the contrary also. I'm not saying people react the right way, but
And
I'm
I've
just
seen, please,
that
if anybody's listening to this, could you please send me a compilation of all of the um, of Hillary supporters getting beat up by Trump supporters? Because I've definitely seen more Trump supporters getting beat up by Hillary or Bernie supporters.
I've seen somebody at a rally, at a Trump rally during the presidential campaign, get kicked out by Trump supporters to get kicked out of the city of the stadium.
Send that to me.
Has happened.
Send it to me. But I've seen videos upon videos. There are people that have made compilations of Trump people getting beat up by.
I'm sure there is.
I'll post some. I'll post one on my page, and then you find it and you post some of. I'm curious because I actually got into a debate about somebody about this with somebody, and I asked them. I looked for videos of compilations of Hillary supporters or Bernie supporters getting beat up by Trump supporters. Couldn't find any, but I found a bunch of Trump supporters getting beat up by Hillary supporters. Or people that didn't like Trump. So
I've seen it. I've seen it both ways, and I've seen it.
Send me what you see. I'm gonna post on my wall, and then you can post under that and send it to me private.
You haven't seen it. Where even Trump is saying, "Get him out of here," and you see a bunch of people beating on that person.
I haven't seen that. Send it to me.
Okay. I can send that to you.
Were they beating him or were they just dragging him out? Were they like, because I've seen like people on the walking down the street and they're like, oh, you support Trump? Oh, like beat him in the head, kick him in the head. I saw a girl at Berkeley got sprayed in the. She was just being interviewed by. She didn't have a Trump hat on. She had a red hat that said "Make Bitcoin Great Again." Sprayed her in the face. I saw fucking Antifa try to burn down like a whole city beating up like. ATM machines setting stuff on fire. I have not seen that from people that support Trump.
That I have seen.
I thought during the inauguration, there were people trying to get into the inauguration, and there were people that were pushing people, not letting people into the inauguration. People that paid their money, paid for tickets to get in, were not letting people go in.
I've seen both, and I'm not
saying both. Send that to me. I specifically look for that to see if I was wrong on that, and I have not been able to find.
I will.
Okay. Anyway, it's getting kind of late. Do you want to close? Could we close here? Did you want to say something else? Do you want to say something in closing?
Well, I appreciated, talking to you. It was really nice.
It was nice. I mean, I think we found some stuff we agreed on, and I think we found some stuff we strongly disagree on. But
at the end of the day, politics is never something anybody can really, agree on.
But you know what sucks is at the end of the day, I think we all want the same things. You know what I mean? I think we just have different ideas of how to go about getting them. Like, I think we all want peace. We all want prosperity. Not just me and you, just everybody. We want to live in a world with no war. We want to be able to thrive. We want to be able to have enough to eat and to live. And, that's the frustrating thing. I just think maybe our life experiences and, our upbringings, our politics, whatever, however we're shaped, has given us different point of views.
I agree.
And different ways of looking at things. So, it's hard for us to talk all the time. But you're giving me some food for thought, some things I'll think about. Maybe, hopefully, I did the same for you. If not, you just think I'm crazy. Crazy coon, maybe.
I think, we all have opinions, but at the end of the day, the only way we can really, get better all together is by, having that type of conversation where, both sides are willing to learn and, get, better from each other's point of view. And I felt like, I didn't even see the time pass, to be honest with you.
I know. Like I thought, I was like, okay, it's been an hour and stuff, and then it was like it went way over. But I'm glad. Like I'm glad. I appreciate it. Like I said, I appreciate your civil comments, and I actually had some other Black people right on the thread. I'm gonna try and get that disagreed with me, but they were civil, and I tried to respond to some of them. And well, I tried to respond to as many people as I could, but there were just so many that when it dies down, I'm gonna try and go back and respond, especially to the people that were civil. And
yeah, the people today are just too quick to insult and to not try to understand each other. The importance that opinions have taken today is scary, because nowadays you can just have opinions and then never question them, never being able to be questioned about them, and that makes
I'm guilty of that sometimes, and I've tried to, I'm working on that. I think we all are, you know what I mean? Everybody has their emotional triggers or their subjective blind spots,
Yeah, and to be honest, I've been too many times on both sides. I used to think a certain way, and then I learned from life and from my mistakes and from other people's opinion. And now, I'm very open to a lot of things. I feel like I like seeing things as a whole instead of seeing one side of everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like if people were doing that a little bit more, they would be better for it. And even though you might not agree with someone, at least it would make you understand that person. And I feel like one of the big problems that was happening today, where the left in particular was kind of high horse, is the fact that they didn't take into consideration the struggle of a lot of, white Americans that are feeling left out by, the government today. And a lot of people have been labeled as racist when they weren't necessarily racist. And it hasn't helped because, it might have turned them into racist.
Yeah, the extremes is happening, right? It's like this, and then you have this left, and it's creating the extremes.
And that's because people are just not open to just understand each other, to talk to each other, and to give a chance to somebody else's opinion. And I'm really glad that you gave me that chance today.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you took me up on it. So I'm glad I saw your comment, because there were so many. I just happened to see it. So I don't know if it was timing. So anyway, do you have what do you do? Do you have a business or anything, or something you would like to promote? You can give people your info.
No, actually, I to anybody who's French and who's interested in independent writing source, I do write for an online magazine that's called Calder. It's in French, unfortunately, and it's mostly about French issue because I am French.
Could you, when this is on the page, could you just post the website and info on the page? Because this is a world discussion. There are probably other Black, or I shouldn't just say Black, but French people. But they're Africans that speak French. This is a conversation that should be had worldwide. It's not just an American thing. As you said, I didn't know you're from Canada until later, but you're from Canada, from America. Yeah, just post your info under the video on the page.
No problem.
Since you like to write, I would suggest, because it seems like you also have a lot to say and you have a specific point of view, that you should do a blog. You should do a podcast or a talk show. It's pretty much free or cheap.
I've been told that. I've been told that. I've never really looked into it, to be honest.
Good. You should. You really should. It's, I think it's just imperative to get all kinds of people just out there speaking the truth. Yeah. It's important. So
I do appreciate the chance to have been able to do that. I hope that, people can, get less frustrated whichever side that they're on. Insults and, violence is never going to solve anything. you know, if there would be more discussions like this, I feel like we would, you know, progress on this instead of going backwards.
For sure. Okay, I guess that's it. I'm gonna let you go. That you can share this from my page. I'm also gonna put download it and put it on the YouTube website. But like I said, man, you should seriously consider doing your own podcast.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
You can do it in French too. That would be great. French and English. That'd be awesome. You know.
Thought about it a lot, but to be honest, I'm kind of shy. This is my
you'll get used to
doing this.
Used to.
Yeah. And I really appreciated it.
Yeah. All right, guys. All right, so that's it. I'm gonna let him go. Thanks you so much, Alvin. Appreciate it. All right, peace, dude. Love you guys. I'm out. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.